What is up, friends? Hello, hi, welcome. I'm actually enjoying my coffee outside and it's chilly, so it's nice. But funny enough, today's video is about seed saving because I teach at Charlie, who's my 7-year-old. She goes to a holistic nature school, which is really, really cool. And so I teach gardening there a couple times a month to the older kids. I really enjoy it, but it's just so interesting because I'm having to go back to the beginning, right? I've been growing food for a really, really long time. And sometimes I skip over the basic principles because I'm not in that stage of growing food, right? And this is kind of really just forced me to go back to the basics and really think about how I can teach and educate others well. And so that's been really cool. And so this week at school, I am talking to the kids about saving seeds. So a couple weeks ago we planted our fall and winter gardens, which was really fun. We got to talk about that and plan out, create a crop plan, all the fun things involved there. But now we're kind of in that slower season, and it's like, well, how can I teach them relevant to the seasons and things that are going to stick with them? And so I have got all these different seeds out in my raised bed garden and plants that I haven't ripped up from summertime yet. And so I'm going to talk to them about seed saving. And so I thought, what better opportunity than to talk to you all about seed saving as well. All right, so the seeds that I have are okra, green beans, and zinnias. And truthfully, that's because I've ripped up most of my summer garden and I'm well into transitioning into that winter garden. But why would you save seeds? First of all, I think that if you are coming at this from, well, one, I think really it just depends on like what your goals are, right? For me, I think that there's a lot of appeal to saving seeds because I could buy a seed packet once and I could plant that seed and I could save that seed and then I could have that seed and continue to do this process literally for generations. Which I think is really appealing when I think about a sustainability standpoint. It's like, oh, if I can buy a seed packet once, ensure that I have good quality seed, then I literally can just grow that same seed from a one-time purchase for years and years to come. And so that might be a reason that you do it. For me, I think it's cool. I literally have seeds that my papaw has passed down to me. So I have this whole idea of like passing down seeds to my kids that I grew in my gardens, which is really just the whole story behind an heirloom, right? Like it's been passed down for generations to generations. They each have this really unique, eclectic, captivating story that really just kind of draws me in. And I absolutely love that. So that might be a reason that you would want to save seeds. It is a little time intensive depending on what it is. I would say okra and green beans are the easiest things to save seeds from. You let them dry on the vine. If you're thinking about like a tomato or something of that sort, it is a different process. You have to get that gel off of the seed. But you know, moving into this summer, we are turning the whole raised bed garden into a culinary garden, which is going to be really fun. I'm going to be growing only heirlooms out here. And so I'm hoping to be able to do more seed saving content in the future specific to those different fruits and vegetables that the process might be a little bit different. But something to know, if you are thinking about saving seeds, and this is probably why I haven't saved any seeds this year, is because primarily I'm only growing hybrid plants. And although technically you can save the seed from a hybrid, you don't want to. And so I'm going to talk to you guys today about why that is. We're going to pop open these seeds and I'm going to show you just how easy that is and kind of walk through what heirloom means, what hybrid means, what open pollination means. These are some things that you just want to be a bit mindful of. All right, so something important to know is you're going to need to know like heirlooms, hybrids, and open pollinated. Okay, so you can always save seeds from open pollinated plant, and that's primarily because all heirlooms are open pollinated. And if you're confused on if they are, most of the time this is like found on a seed packet. Just like if you were to buy a hybrid seed packet, it's going to say F1, and that's because it's like that first generation hybrid, or sometimes it'll say F2. And so that's kind of how you can identify it. And again, if you're confused, if you're buying your seeds from a website, read the description. It'll be on the back of a seed packet. It will tell you what it is, so that you know that's not really in question. So a hybrid is actually like a plant that's been intentionally crossed between two plant varieties or plant species, okay? And so they are crossing these, cross-pollinating them, and hopes to produce an offspring that has the best traits of either one of those parent plants, if that makes sense. And so while it's great if you're wanting to grow for production, it's amazing. The problem with trying to save the seeds from that is if you were to save the seeds from that and it's been cross-pollinated, more than likely it's going to, like if you planted that seed, it's going to revert back to one of the parent plants and still not be true to that, or it's going to throw something completely wonky. I've talked to a lot of people who have tried to grow, like save seeds from, a lot of them have said that they're just inedible, that they don't taste good, that the plant just grows weird. And so that is kind of, there's like pros and cons to growing hybrids, right? A lot of them are going to be disease resistant. They're going to be very, very high producing, but the downfall is that you are having to rebuy that seed every single year. So if that's something that's really important to you and you're like, well, I don't need to harvest, 100 pounds of tomatoes every single week, out in my garden, and I would really like to have these seeds for years and years to come, then maybe just choose an heirloom variety. But something to be mindful of, which is why we do primarily hybrids in our high tunnel, and I'm going to be transitioning to heirlooms out in the raised bed. That way I can still save seeds from those really cool varieties, regrow them every year, save obviously money, but then pass them down, and then we'll just stick to hybrid production, which more than covers, in my opinion, like it's worth it to me because of how much it yields, how much money we're saving in the long run by doing that. But that is something you just want to know. You can save seeds from an heirloom and an open pollinated, because when you save the seeds and you replant it, it is going to come back true to the plant versus the hybrid, which won't. So I hope I simplified that for you guys. I hope it makes sense. If not, leave me a comment. I'll try to better clarify. I also talk a lot about it in my book. I really kind of dive into the hybrids and highlighting them, but then I also talk about the heirlooms that my papaw grew. But we do have sidebars. My book's A Tiny But Mighty Farm. You can pre-order it down below. But I do talk about what a hybrid is, what it's used for, some of my top varieties, and then also I talk about the heirloom because, of course, they deserve some love too. So let's dive into actually saving these seeds and what that looks like. First of all, with anything, I'm not going to go out and find my plant that did the crummiest all season and decide to save seeds from that one plant. I'm going to find a strong, healthy plant. I'm going to know. What I did before, when I was intentionally saving seeds, is I would tag the plants that I wanted to save the seed from. And this was based off of the healthiest plants, the ones that produced the most, they had the best fruit, whatever it was, the qualities that I were looking for. And so I do recommend this if you're really wanting to get into this. Tag them. But in this case, I literally just have trellises out in the raised bed garden that I have not cleaned off yet. And I just walked through and I picked some off. So this year it wasn't quite as thought through or as intentional, but more than likely they're still going to be perfectly fine. All right, so you want to make sure that when you are harvesting the plant to save the seeds, that it is completely dry, if not overly dry. So you can see here, this is super, super dry, and the sides right here are even starting to crack and split open. And for me, that's always an indicator that it is dry enough for me to harvest, to pull the seeds off of. And the reason that you want to do that, you don't want to get a green plant, is because the seeds aren't mature, and that's part of it, right? So if I were to grab this green bean, it's a lot different process than if I were to grab this one that is dried on the vine to save the seed. So it is important, don't pick green fruit, or whatever color it is that you're saving the seeds from. Make sure that it is completely dry. And then what I even do too is when I open it up and save the seeds from, I'm still letting these like air dry on the counter for about a day before I'm storing them. Mainly because I saved green beans one year. I took them, popped them open. They were, in my opinion, I thought they were pretty dry, but I had popped them open, threw them in a baggie, zipped it up, and there was moisture still in the bean. They hadn't completely dried out, which caused mold, and I ended up having to toss all of those. So kind of just like the protocol I do, I wait until they dry pretty well on the vine. I'll harvest them. I will take all the seeds out of them, lay them on rags on the kitchen table, let them sit for a day, and then I'm going to go ahead and store them in, you know, my baggie or something like that. All right, enough talking. Let's get to it. Here you have our green bean. It's a pretty cute green bean. I grew that, y'all. All right, so literally all I'm doing is just pinching the sides of it to pop it open. And I'm going to pop these in my hand. Show you all what they look like. Alrighty, that one's a dud. So here I have got these little beans. Now I know what variety these were when I grew them, so that's important. So I would just then take these little beans, and I would lay them out on that towel that I was talking about, let them finish drying, and then I'd store them. But literally, you're just taking the casing, cracking it open just like you were if you were going to be shelling a pea or something, and then inside is all of this glory. All right, next up we have the okra pod. So if you have waited until your okra starts to split, you literally can just do the shake test and they start to shake right open. And so here, this one's already started to split. I'm just going through with my hands and kind of opening it a bit more. And then I am just shaking them out. Okra is one of those things too. You can literally save so many okra seed from one plant. It is insane. And the really cool thing is you can rattle it and you can hear all those seeds inside too. And so I actually like to save some of these dried okra pods, and I put them in wreaths. I put them in my fall floral arrangements. So they're kind of versatile to me. So I'm actually saving some of these not to harvest all the seeds from, but to use for various other fall projects. So you guys can see here, I'm just kind of peeling back the layers and getting all these seeds out. Super easy. And the cool thing is too, is it's going to look just like what it looks like when you planted it. So if you're like, oh, what is this supposed to look like? That's exactly what my okra looked like when I planted it. That was exactly what my green bean looked like when I planted it. So it is going to look just like how it started. And then that just came off of 1/2 of this small okra. So imagine how many I could get. I mean, I've harvested almost a 1/2 basket here of this okra pods. And so, my goodness, I literally will probably have thousands of little okra seeds, which is really encouraging. And so for me, I get to take these and go give them to all these kids, which is fun. But think, I mean, if you were saving these, even if you saved the seeds off of one plant, you would have enough seed probably to grow for years and years to come. Another thing that's super easy to save the seeds from are zinnias and sunflowers. Depending on the sunflower that you're growing. I grow all hybrid sunflowers, so I'm not able to save the seeds, but I do not grow any hybrid zinnias. So the cool thing is you wait until it completely dries. It will have more than likely lost all of its petals. They've all fallen off. And some people say like they deadhead it, and essentially they'll go by and they'll just pop this off. Now what I have done in the past is I've went through and I've deadheaded all of my zinnia plants, and I've just thrown this entire pod in a baggie, an all right zinnia mix, or you know, whatever it might be. But you can go through now and go ahead and select them out, because with this there's going to be seeds in here obviously, but there's a lot of other fluff. And so what I am doing is I'm just taking it and I'm just giving it a good little shake. If you're not making a mess, are you even doing it right? I don't know. All right, so here now is where we're starting to get the seed coming out. Oh. Alrighty. Again, with zinnias, one little flower head will produce a lot of stinking seeds. I've never really had an issue with like any of these seeds not germinating. What I've even done too is I've saved these pods in it where I knew I wanted zinnias to come up the next year. Just how I sprinkled this into my hand, I would go and just sprinkle it into a bed. And you guys, I kid you not, the next spring zinnias were popping up. There's zinnias all in this raised bed garden that pop up and volunteer from flowers and zinnias that had been grown and sowed many moons ago. And so I think that that's really cool. So with flowers, it's super, super easy. There's a lot of flexibility. But you can see right here, these are the seeds. So what you would do then is, all right, so then we have got the seed. Let me try to grab one for you, which is right there. You have the seed. So you would just take this, store it in your baggie. I'm gonna actually put these in a cup and take it inside. You guys, it really is that simple. So if you've been thinking about saving seeds, or maybe it's something that you really want to emphasize on coming up in the spring and summer garden of the new year, do it. It's so easy. And even right now, if you are still cleaning out the end of your summer gardens, go harvest them. Get you a basket, go inside, get a baggie and a marker, label it. It's so, so easy. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Wish me luck as I go teach a whole bunch of 10-year-olds the importance of saving seeds, and hopefully I can teach them a skill that they will take with them for the rest of their lives. But thanks for hanging out. I'll talk to you soon.